Hello and welcome. My name is Sam Shukor Isam. I'm an Iraqi-born Canadian architect. I live in Ontario, Canada, in Cambridge. I'm a licensed architect and actually licensed 3 provinces, Ontario, Alberta, and BC. In addition to being a proud chartered member of the Royal Institute of British Architects. In this video, I'd like to share my story with you. I hope that I won't bother you with too much details. It was January 16 in 1991 in the city of Baghdad, Iraq, where I finished my university at the School of Architecture. The atmosphere was extremely tense. There was a sense of panic due to imminent airstrikes. It was all over the news. It was a wartime. And that feel loomed everywhere. That was the world's punishment, we're told, for the invasion of Kuwait at that time. There was an enormous wave of airstrikes that shook Baghdad early hours of January 17, and it's still vivid in my memory. At the time, and apart from the fact that there was this event in my life that left a deep scar, my hope and my desire was to have a bigger home. However, I couldn't afford that because I couldn't purchase a new home or build a new home on a vacant land, or even rent a house could give me that kind of satisfaction. So my frustration was due to the fact that the spaces that I lived in with my wife and son was very small, and it felt like locking up on us. My son couldn't move with his small bike anywhere without bumping into furniture. I felt that he was always crying, and probably that's because of the tension that was in the air and the sounds of bombs and all that. But also because he had a lot of energy. He lacked the space to play. And also we lacked the privacy, as I said. So when I invited my friends to come over to have some tea, to chat, then I have to be very careful. I kept asking them to lower your voices, please. Don't shout, don't laugh out loudly. Of course, you have to imagine that this happens day in and day out, and every week and every month. So I really felt frustrated at that time. Now, because of the economic situation, the economic sanctions that followed air raid and bombardment, it got even harder for me to find a place or a new home. So what made it worse actually is that my only source of income, which was my small practice I established back in 1988, didn't make any money. There were no clients. I couldn't market anywhere because communication was not easy. Commuting was hard. The gas prices were rising. My income dropped tremendously. It hit zero. I didn't have any income. It's no surprise to tell you that I didn't have savings either. So just imagine that if you were in this situation, it was really pressing. It was hard. And inside, I felt like I was imprisoned inside of myself. So after the 43 days of tension and horror, there was peace. It got a little bit better in the sense that there was no more air raids. And one evening actually, a friend of mine visited me, and we wanted to out in the garden because it was already summer. And he brought a friend of his, and we started to chat and laugh and try to make the best of what we have. But I noticed that he was pointing out to my place, which was on the other side, as I can show you in the sketch. So he was pointing out, I said, your place is too small. How can you make your child live in such a small space? As if he was reading my thoughts, which I hid so dearly. So I just nodded. I said, yeah, but in these circumstances, what can you do? I don't have savings, and I haven't found the proper job. It was really bad. So again, he asked me, but that's not right. That's, your child needs space. Your child has energy. He needs to play. He has toys. He needs to listen to music in a quiet environment, not crammed environment. I totally agreed. I said, yeah, I don't have enough money to build a new house. I don't have money to buy a new property and build on it, and I don't have enough income to support any rental project. And he pointed out to his friend and said, why don't you talk to this guy? He's an expert. Just ask him. So I turned my head to the gentleman sitting next to me. What is it that he's talking about? He said, well, you don't have to buy new property. You don't have to buy vacant land. Why don't you just expand? Why don't you just build on this property and renovate it and retrofit it, or whatever you want to do to create your own space without spending too much? At that point, and without any exaggeration, it was as if he was insulting me, but without any intention. He didn't want to insult me. Obviously, he was just trying to be helpful. And being a contractor, I forgot to mention that he was a contractor whom he was just starting out, but he had a lot of experience because he was a construction worker for many, many years, and he was a sub-trader. He builds molds for concrete with rebars. So what he said really changed everything, twisted my thoughts in a positive way. I said to myself, yes, I'm an architect. How come I didn't think of that? And the reason for that is simple, because at the time, living in a crisis, and also before that, when there was peace, really architectural schools don't care about renovation. They don't focus on renovation. They always focus on a clean slate or a white canvas, and you build a new project. Daycare, row houses, an office building, everything starts from scratch. So we didn't have that component. We didn't have that paradigm of something called renovation, recycle, renew, retrofit to make better. That was non-existent. But also, the green approach to architecture, sustainability, was very weak. I didn't know anything about that, and I didn't care, because I thought, to go along with the paradigm that was there, is that, build a new, spend a huge budget, create your own character, cut off the trees, it doesn't matter, just start with your own signature. When that contractor presented that concept, I was really surprised. It was like a revelation to me. After they left, I rushed back in to the house, scrambled to look for my sketching pad, which I have it here somewhere. That sketching pad had thick watercolor sheets. So feverishly I started to sketch, look around me and try to measure up the space, and started to sketch to know what the sizes are, what can I build on top, where's the staircase, can I build in this garden, can I build in this sidewalk, and all kinds of questions and interesting flow of ideas suddenly came to my mind. I was really excited. I was really on a different level. It's like as if I was on the clouds. Amidst this kind of desperation that I felt, frustration, hitting a wall of no hope and no breakthrough. So I started with architecture plans, and I'll show you some of the sketches of that period. And then I started to write down all the requirements. So I need a proper lobby, I need a courtyard that looked Spanish with ceramic floor, with a small fountain maybe. So I started to think about all the things that I loved, but within the context, within the space that I lived. And then I started to look at the structural and non-structural elements in the existing. Everything became so obvious that this wall is non-structural, I couldn't put another wall on top of it, and so on and so forth. So it was it was such a good time to flourish in terms of being an architect, being filled with ideas, and I had a very good imagination skill since school. But suddenly I felt that, hold on a second, I have zero experience in renovation. I can't be a contractor. I'm just an architect. I'm just a designer. I can design well. What about the priorities? What about, where do I get the material from? What about the prices? I don't have enough budget. I mean, I can borrow some money. Suddenly I felt that this is not real. This is not doable. And the more I looked into it, the more I had bumps in my way. And it seems like the wall is coming up again. Feeling that, you sabotage yourself, so to speak, like you can't do it, and this is hard, and where to start, what is the roadmap? All of these questions come to mind when you suddenly find a way of helping yourself, helping your family, helping your child to get a better life. Suddenly you find that you're paralyzed. But I thought that I know better, that I'm a sustainable person and I'm a resource person. And by default, as a good designer, I'm a creative person. So I went to the School of Architecture, and I remember staying at the library. It opens at 7. So I was there at 7 and I stayed until probably 6 or 7 p.m. going through all the books that talked about renovation, retrofit, interior alteration, decoration, expansion, extension, addition, from contractors' written book to designers' written books to developers' written books. And I piled a bunch of them, put them in my knapsack at probably around 7 p.m. when the library was almost closing, and then I left and I started to study for the next 4 weeks. Study and make conclusion, and study this book and make conclusions, and summarize this book and write down a different spreadsheet for the steps, for the ingredients, for the resources of material, for the best tactics, for the optimization of space, for the optimization of the budget, for the optimization of the aesthetics. How to find a great balance between aesthetics, budget, sustainability, efficiency of space, efficiency of energy, even though I had no clue about energy. By the end of those 4 weeks, a scheme for doing a renovation for myself. And I was absolutely exhausted and tired, and I didn't go to my office. I was just focusing on that renovation schemes because I knew that this was my ambition, to build a new home. From that achievement that I considered as a practical step-by-step checklist of how to do renovation properly, of course I had to refine it over and over again throughout the years. It was a very rough draft. It was based on my own research, my own information, reading from renowned magazines and books, but they never stayed the same. It became even more sharper and more accurate. That achievement was turned into me being able to run the renovation project myself. And from my wife's family, I managed to get through that project successfully. I used recycled steel beams. I used refurbished brick from demolition sites. I used old window frames that I replaced the glass for, because they were just good quality window frames. I even used brick, and I used older techniques of building because the brick was cheap and the steel beams was available. So we used some older construction techniques. I used refurbished tiles, Spanish tiles, and then I paved the whole small yard that I created and we created a small fountain, and I planted the tree that I wanted. The most important part of my achievement was that I emptied the main floor bedroom that we used to have. 3 of us sleep there. And I emptied that and I turned it into a gallery. Everything is white, except for a chair, which is jet black. My pictures, my watercolor sketches. That was my dream that I finally got through my own effort, through my revelation that I got from that young contractor. Really, I called him up probably a year later and thanked him because of that seed that he gave me. Do it yourself, count on yourself, you have the knowledge, you're an architect, he told me. How come? So finally I got the spaces, but what really mattered to me is not that. When I saw my child sleeping in his bed, surrounded by his toys and music, keyboard, when I saw him smiling and laughing, and when I feel that we sit down and watch something on TV comfortably without annoying him, when I go into that space that I call the gallery and spend an hour thinking about the sketches that I did and critiquing myself, or allowing myself to relax, this is what I got, and what made me feel a different person. And that made me feel like I can do it, and it created that. It anchored me, actually. I was all over the place and I was confused. So the achievement sometimes gives you that assurance and confidence that you really need, but it also bonds you to your cause. If your cause was your child, for the well-being and prosperity of your family, then you'll feel much more than just achieving a white room or a Spanish floor courtyard, or multiple rooms that you can sleep and use comfortably with their own bathrooms. All of this cannot match the feel of satisfaction and content that you feel with your family, knowing your child will be happy and will be prosperous, and they can play, and then they can listen to music, and hopefully in the future, as it happened, inviting his own friends to spend some quality time. And that's why I'm so excited to share with you this method that I've discovered after a few weeks of researching in the library to find the best system for renovation that suits my need, but then it was tweaked to fit in different scenarios, and I carried that with me wherever I went, because I believed in renovation more than building anew. And then I adopted that sustainability concept so dearly, because I thought, oh, that was what I did then. It's no stranger to me. The concept of sustainability, the concept of creating within your means, but you create creatively. So the impact of design on that was tremendous, actually, because design adds value. It adds disproportionate value. It's not like you add one design and your value increased by one. It's one design and your value increases probably by 100. I'm excited to share that methodology through sketching, because as you can see, one of the tools that I used and I recommended in my step-by-step method is to use sketching to capture a concept. That sketching conception, which has 2 stages, tackled efficiency, sustainability, imagination, design added value, which saved me and saved my clients in the future, the years coming up to this moment, hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably more than that, in savings, that they could take that money and spend it on their lifestyle, spend it on their family, spend it on their children, spend it on savings for hard days. I'm currently working on an offer that I would like to launch pretty soon, in which I would have the proper means of booking an introductory session with me, so that I can take you through the process, and probably we can work together, or you can take that system or the result of talking to me and try to implement it. If you have any questions, please post it down. If you need to contact me, you can message me, and then I'll do my best to reply to you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.